I never used to be afraid of my own shadow. It was just a normal thing, something that followed me around, something that moved when I moved, something that disappeared when the lights went out. Just a part of life. Just a part of me, but everything changed the night my shadow stopped acting like mine. It began 3 weeks ago, on a cold evening when I was walking home from work. The streetlights flickered like they were struggling to stay alive, and the wind was sharp enough to cut through my jacket. I kept my hands in my pockets, staring down at the pavement, tired and annoyed at another long day. Then I noticed it, my shadow, but it wasn't quite right. It stretched behind me on the sidewalk the way it should, but something about it felt off. I stopped walking for a moment just to catch my breath, but the shadow, it didn't stop. It took one extra step after I had frozen in place, a lag, a delay, small, almost nothing, but I saw it. I blinked, shook my head, and told myself I was imagining things. Maybe I had moved slightly without realizing it. Maybe the light was playing tricks. Maybe I was just tired. That made sense. That was normal. But as I continued walking, a chill crawled up my spine, and a strange certainty settled in my mind. My shadow was walking a little differently than me. I walked steady and quick, eager to get home, but the shadow's steps were slower, heavier, like something dragging itself forward, like something trying to follow. When I reached my apartment building, I didn't look at it anymore. I unlocked the door, went inside, and shut everything out. I made myself dinner, watched TV, forced myself to forget. But that night, as I stood in the bathroom brushing my teeth, I saw it again in the mirror, not reflected correctly. My shadow should have matched my movements perfectly in the mirror. When I lifted my arm, it should have lifted too. When I leaned forward, it should have leaned forward, but this time, when I leaned closer to the mirror, it leaned back, like it didn't want to come closer, like it didn't want me to see it clearly. My toothbrush fell from my hand, clattering onto the sink. I stumbled backward, heart pounding, waiting for the shadow to correct itself, waiting for logic to return, but the shadow stayed perfectly still. I lifted my hand slowly, and the shadow lifted its hand too, but not in the same way, not matching me. Its fingers curved almost like claws, trembling slightly. I froze. "Hello," I whispered, even though I knew how insane that sounded. The shadow tilted its head. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I went to work and tried to pretend everything was normal. I told myself I had hallucinated. Stress, exhaustion, whatever. I've never been the type to believe in ghosts or supernatural crap, so I forced myself to bury it. But as I walked through the office hallway, something horrible happened. Every fluorescent light above me buzzed louder when I passed beneath them, flickering in sequence, like a wave of electricity reacting to me, or to something behind me, and when I reached the end of the hallway, I saw it clearly on the polished floor. My shadow wasn't facing the same direction as me. I was facing forward toward the office door, but my shadow was turned toward me, its head angled upward like it was staring straight at the back of my neck. My breath caught in my throat. I didn't move for several seconds. Then I stepped backward. Slowly, my shadow didn't move. I stepped again. It stepped forward, coming toward me. I gasped and bolted through the door, slamming it shut behind me. People stared, confused, but I didn't care. Something was following me. Something was attached to me, but it wasn't mine. Over the next few days, things escalated. In every room, every surface, every corridor, my shadow moved slightly wrong, sometimes too slow, sometimes too fast, sometimes turning its head when I didn't move at all, sometimes twitching like something was struggling inside it. Once, I caught it crouching when I stood completely still. Once, I saw its hands reach toward me, trying to grab my ankle when I walked past a lamp. Once, in the dead of night, I woke up to see it standing beside my bed, its long, black form leaning over me, its fingers inches from my chest. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't scream. I just shut my eyes and prayed it was a nightmare. When I opened them again, the room was pitch black, but I could still feel it there, watching, waiting, breathing without lungs. The next morning, I noticed something worse. My real shadow was gone. The thing behind me was not a reflection of my body anymore. It was taller, thinner. Its arms hung lower than mine, almost to its knees. Its head was misshapen, tilting to one side like its neck was broken. And when I walked, sometimes it walked closer, sometimes it walked faster than me. Sometimes it stood still even when I moved, forcing me to leave it behind, until I turned around, and it was suddenly right at my feet again, like it had never left. It wasn't following the light. It was following me. By the second week, I stopped going to work. I stopped sleeping. I shut the curtains, turned off every light, and stayed in darkness, because I thought maybe if there was no shadow, there was no problem. But I was wrong. In the darkness, I realized something horrifying. It didn't need light to exist. Even in pitch black, I could still see it. A darker shape in the dark, moving at the edge of my vision. Sometimes I heard it scraping along the walls, dragging itself closer. Sometimes I heard breathing behind me, but when I turned around, all I saw was the silhouette, twisted and trembling. One night, I heard it whisper. Just one word, mine. I screamed and lunged for the door, desperate to escape. I ran outside, barefoot, into the freezing night. Streetlights glowed overhead, casting shadows everywhere. And there it was, stretched behind me, longer than ever, reaching across the pavement like it was chasing me. I sprinted toward the nearest main road, but the lights ahead flickered and died one by one, plunging the street into darkness, forcing me to stop. When the final light went out, I felt something cold brush the back of my neck. I turned slowly. My shadow was standing upright behind me, separate from my body, detached, free. It wasn't connected to my feet anymore. It wasn't glued to my movements. It stood on its own, tall and contorted, its head twitching rapidly like it was fighting to hold itself together. Then it took a step toward me, not a shadow step, a real step. I stumbled backward, falling onto the pavement. I crawled away, but it loomed closer, its black form stretching, splitting, peeling away from the ground like smoke turning solid. Its hands, long, bony, shaking, reached toward my face, and then it spoke again, not with sound, with a voice inside my skull. You left. So I came. I shook violently, unable to breathe. What are you? I whispered. It leaned closer, its faceless head inches above mine. You. Then it pressed its hand against my chest. A searing cold shot through my ribs. I gasped, clawing at the pavement as I felt something being pulled, dragged, from deep inside me. My vision blurred, and the world spun like a collapsing tunnel. I realized then, with a terror that shattered every last piece of sanity, it wasn't stealing my shadow. It was replacing me. My body went numb. My vision dimmed. My thoughts slowed until all I could hear was a single, echoing heartbeat. Then silence. The last thing I saw before everything went black was the creature standing upright, its shape morphing, becoming more like me. Its posture straightening, its form stabilizing, becoming human, becoming whole. My body trembled uselessly as I felt myself sink into darkness, not dead, but trapped, like I was being shoved into a corner of existence, smothered beneath something heavy, something cold. And then I understood the truth. I was the shadow now. I screamed silently, but no sound came out. I was stuck, weightless, forced to watch from a distance as the thing wearing my shape turned around and walked away. It didn't look back. I did. I tried to move, to run, to speak, but I couldn't. I was nothing but a dark outline stretched along the pavement, flickering in the glow of the streetlights, following the creature that now owned my body, following the thing that had taken my life, following, because I had no choice, and as it walked, I felt myself dragged behind it, tethered to it forever, just like a shadow, only now the shadow that walks behind it is mine, and the one walking in the world isn't.